Killer did that.
Hello and welcome to Roasting the World, where we offer an adversarial perspective on today's cultural issues. We do it for the intelligent culture. I'm your host, Keenan Robinson, Nothing Without God Productions, Inspirational Life Films. You know how we do it over here. And we have a special guest today, my mom. Introduce yourself.
I'm Kathy.
Tell us where you're from and a little bit about yourself.
I'm originally from the East Coast, from Delaware, and I currently reside in Providence, Rhode Island.
East Coast.
And I'm here in Tennessee visiting my sons and grandchildren.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, thank you for visiting today. And our topic to be roasted today is growth and change. The reason why this particular subject matter is important for me is because there was a time when I thought I knew everything. I was very rigid in my thought process, and I just kind of felt like I didn't have a dad in my life, whatever. So I was like, I'm the man. I got to do what I got to do, and I'm making a lot of mistakes. So in that journey, I learned through different people how to listen, first of all, and to just take other people's perspective and other things like that of that nature and apply it to myself. I call it kind of the theory of the sponge, where I take in everything around me and I keep the things that are serving me or that make me grow, but I squeeze out the things that I feel like are detrimental to me or that I don't feel like help me grow. So let's dig into it. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about your journey, and you can start wherever you want to, and about growth and change for you.
I think my journey began after I had my second son.
Okay.
I was like one of the first people to get the low-income housing, and that was the big thing. New apartment. I had a 2-bedroom. I had everything I wanted: a new boyfriend and a neighbor. And at the time, things were perfect to me. They were. I think I got caught up in wanting what someone else had, worried about what someone else was saying, because I was in a relationship, but I was a lot younger than my kid's father, and I don't know, I had a lot of friends. The whole complex, we were all like family, and then this guy moved into my neighborhood, and he was involved with drugs. And I was home a lot by myself, and he smoked marijuana. And I started smoking marijuana with him. And that led to me going from marijuana to cocaine, helping him package it up at first and then trying it out. And then eventually I slept with this man. Things got out of hand because it was all day, every day. And I think that I didn't tell anyone what was going on because I didn't think that, I never thought about what I was doing was hurtful, or I would end up where I am today. Like they say, if I knew then what I know now, I would have done things a lot different. It harmed me, my family the most, because I was in love. And that's...
Were you in love with the man or the drug?
I was in love with my kid's father.
Okay.
And it was like he wasn't there, and the neighbor boyfriend was a replacement. He was everything and every aspect of what my kid's father was not there. He was like the replacement, and he was our next door neighbor. And even when my kid's father was there, it was like he wasn't there. He was a lot older than me, and we just didn't talk. Hi, how are you doing? And he would come in, eat, and go to bed, and go back to work, among other things that I found out later. But I say that
So that's part of the
That's
what you needed to
was
grow
my
from.
beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was my beginning.
Okay.
And then we moved. I moved, and I'm on the phase 2, the next step, where I'm going to get married to Fairy Tale. And it didn't happen like that. I started listening to my friend's mom. A friend of mine lived up the street, her and her sisters and her mom and dad. And I would listen to what her mom and dad were saying. And I never talked about to anyone. I didn't grow up with my mother. And I always just blocked out everything that was wrong with me. I had a lot of resentment on my mother not being there for me. And I won't blame that on the reason why I took a different route, but ended up with my sons. You guys, I wasn't there for you. But in actuality, I guess part of me was looking at it as the same. And until actually this year, in January, I started looking at blaming myself. I can blame my mother for me deserting my kids, because in a sense that's what I did, but in my heart that's not what my intention was. I thought I was doing the best thing, making the best choice. I will always remember the day that we took you down to the bus station and put you on the bus to go to Tennessee. And I can't change that. But I always ask myself, why didn't I stop the bus?
Well, let me say this. So during that time, I mean, we had gotten kind of put out the other house. You were in an abusive relationship. I was seeing some things and doing some things with gangs and other stuff that I, probably shouldn't have been around. And you was about to go to prison, I believe.
I ended up going.
Yeah. So can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
That goes back to boyfriends. Everything that I've done, I take full responsibility. Now I do. But this was between the ages of when I was 18 up until I was 30, or maybe 25, 30, closer to 30.
Right.
This boyfriend, who was the neighbor, continued to be in my life, and the drug thing became more and more to where I was using it all the time, more so than him. And when he did get high, then there was abuse, a lot of abuse. But I stayed with him because I didn't have anybody else. I was in Iowa at the time, and my kids were gone, even before you guys left. My brothers were there. I had my 2 brothers, Jimmy and Dennis.
Right. Shout out Uncle Jay and Uncle D.
Jay, God bless you, and I love you always. My thing was, I was consumed with this relationship because he was there for me. I got a man. That was the big thing, to have a man.
Right.
And he was cute and all that. I had, the whole...
So let me ask you this. Nowadays, a lot of women say that they don't need a man, right?
I'm surviving.
So do you feel like that's why? Because men have,
always been
abused and hurt and took advantage of it. I mean, because there's some good guys out there too, but there are also some people that makes it bad for everybody too. And the same goes for women, but I'm just speaking from the man's perspective, because I do hear that from today's modern women.
I once told one of my boyfriends that if I started to like him or he started to fall in love with me, then I would do something to make him hate me. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I remember saying that, and I was with a really nice guy, because there was no abuse, and it was just too perfect. He was a good guy. Mm-hmm. He was everything. We even talked about getting married. But I was on drugs at the time still, and he didn't know it. And I just figured that I was going to ruin this. And it was easier for me to just walk away from him because this was going to end when he found out. And I'm the type of person, I'm stuck with my thoughts And that's something that I'm learning today, years later, that I don't have to be stuck. Things change. I can make changes. I have made changes.
Okay. Okay. So let's talk about let's talk about the process of being able to make changes. One thing I can speak for my own self, is growing up without my parents around. I wanted to make a change in my life for my daughter. When my daughter, when I first found, because at first, man, I was doing whatever. On my way to the penitentiary or to jail or to hurting somebody or something of that nature. But when I found out that I had a kid, I wanted to be around. So I was like, I got to stop hustling so much, and didn't stop fully. I'm not going to lie to you, act like it's cold turkey, because it wasn't like that, because I needed money. I was still doing some illegal things and stuff I wasn't supposed to. But I had the mindset of there's an end game to this, because I want to be around for my kid. I want my kid to grow up and know that, it was a girl. She has a dad, and, and I'm around, and she don't need no other man to take care of her because her daddy's around. So I kind of made that up in my mind because of how my childhood was. I think if maybe I would have grown up just a regular person, I may have made a different decision and been like, well, I can be a deadbeat dad, or I can walk away from this and just start another family or whatever. But because I had that void, I wanted to make sure that someone else didn't have to. That way I was breaking that generational cycle of like, for your father not being around, correct? And, your mom, she passed when you were 8. So you grew up not with parents. You grew up with other people that maybe took those roles, but they weren't your parents.
Right.
And then when I grew up, I think you were around, but not for the whole thing, you know. And my dad was never around. I've seen him probably twice my whole life. I talk to him every once in a while, but he's, I didn't even know his first name until I was, in my late 30s.
I know.
So that's a problem. So I wanted to be there for my kids, my son and my daughter. So can you speak to what made you want to change, and actually making the change to wherever that you found success and wanted to make that change?
Yeah, but first I want to mention Gangsta Paradise. That song came out.
Yeah,
with
Coolio.
Yeah.
Right.
And you said to me one day, Mom, that's how I feel. I don't believe that I'm going to live to be 23. Never will I live to see 24.
Right.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. And then the man that was to be your stepfather said to you one day, you can make money the way I do, work and earn it, and you can get to keep everything that you have, which is beautiful. I am so proud of you. Or you can go out on the street and be one of these thugs like this one over here, and you're going to lose it. You end up in jail. You got options. It's up to you. And I'm very proud of you, the way that you have chosen. Me, I'm the type, I had a lot of knowledge in my head, in my thoughts. I didn't use it. Part of me today, I moved to Rhode Island after going to prison for prescription. That's something that any females that's listening, young ladies, I stood, and you don't know how hurtful it was, but I didn't look at it then. Today I know that was one of the worst things that I have accepted. But I'm thinking, this man loves me, he's going to come, he's not going to let nothing happen to me. And to this day, he never said a word. I looked at him, eye contact, he walked past the police, 2 police came into Walgreens, into the store, and I'm standing there waiting for them to... I didn't feel I was doing anything wrong. I didn't know I was doing anything wrong. Oh, it's okay, just go get this prescription for me. And that cost me 2 years of my life. And the whole time I did these 2 years when I lived in Iowa, I didn't look at it, but I had anger, but I didn't accept the blame for me doing it. When I got out, I moved to Tennessee, where my brother and you guys lived. And I felt like I'm alone. I need to get past thinking about what I did. And today, I still think about what I did, but it's different because it's nothing I can do to change what happened. But I can make changes as far as excuse me. How can I put this?
Well, while you think about that, keep talking.
Okay, I can correct some of the things I did. You know, like today, I am very, like you're having your daughter gave you a change in your life. Seeing my son's grown, independent, and just so blessed, and I thank God for that, has made me want to step in because it's a piece missing in your puzzle.
Right.
And I feel like I felt I wasn't deserving to be part of that piece of puzzle.
Well, just from our perspective, it was something that was required. I mean, I look at my children and I see my daughter and her mom's side of the family, where she has grandma, granddad, aunts, uncles, cousins, like the whole shebang.
family.
Like my son, he got mama, grandmama, granddad who just recently passed, you know, aunties, uncles, cousins, like, and they all show up. Like, it's thick. But from my side,
It's just
when
you.
things happen, like my dad's side of the family is not around already, and from your side, it was maybe a couple of people here and there, but it wasn't that big outpouring of support. So I was like, well, what do I have? You know, what can I salvage from my side to show my daughter, my son, that I do have family, I do have people that are, this is your tree, this is your, you know, your family, you know, from your father's side. And you know, having my brother here was a blessing because I was always able to say, this is your uncle, you know, this is my brother. And then having, you know, 10 foster brothers and sisters, that was really cool because now I can say, hey, this is your cousin over here. This is this person. So they gave me a platform. And then living with a couple of different families, shout out to the Fishers, shout out to the McGrasses, you know, living with them brought me more extended family. So that was cool, but they still needed to know, well, who are your parents? What do they look like? Who do I look like in your family? You know, what's your history? You know, and they would hear stories, but they never met. So that's when I was like, look, we gotta, you know, April was getting older, you know, and my son was born, and you know, he's a cancer survivor. Shout out, little KJ. And you know, and I felt like, hey, my mom's been doing pretty well for a while. You know, let's see how this works. And it was, you know, we had to step out on faith. And that was part of the growth process for our family and breaking that curse, generational curse, and saying, look, this is your grandmother. This is my mom. You know what I'm saying? This is your granddaughter. This is family. And let's start from today and move forward. And I felt like that was important for our growth.
Even today I don't feel like that, but last week before I came, I didn't feel like I had a right to demand to be here. Today I feel like I'm wanted. You know,
and there's
I'm
a difference between demanding to be somewhere and being wanted to be someplace.
Yeah, and I know that today, and I thank God I'm able to separate the difference because that kept me for years. I want to go see my kids, but they don't want me. Or what can I say to them? Like my granddaughter's 21st birthday was her first birthday that I spent with her.
Right.
And it was so important to me, but I was dealing with, do I have a right?
Well, it was important for her.
I am so glad,
you know,
because I love her.
She need, despite whatever you've done or I've done or whatever, she needed that support. And I'm glad that her mom came down from North Carolina.
And
you
she's
came, her
accepting
aunties
of
came,
me.
uncles, cousins. Like it was, you know, it wasn't a lot of us, but it was enough to let her know
That
this
she
is
loved,
this is your family.
Yeah.
You have people, and that's one thing that I remember graduating from high school, and they said, well, the graduating class parents stand up. And no one stood up for me. Like, I didn't have mom and dad standing up for me. And that made me feel some type of way. Then I graduated from college. Same thing. College again. Same thing. So it's like all these accolades didn't really mean as much. They kind of got an asterisk by them because I wasn't able to share it with my parents, you know, and different things of that nature. So now I'm to the point where now, man, I take my daughter everywhere. You know, my brother in different places. And I'm like, look, this is my family right here. And I appreciate the people that are here. I appreciate, like I said, the extended family, because it does mean something. Because blood, yeah, that's cool to have that around if you have it, but if not, man, that extended family is
there when no one
pivotal.
else is there.
It's super important. Like even for you, when you grew up without your mom and your dad, that was family members, but they weren't your nuclear in-house mom and dad in the house. It was other people. And I remember, you telling me that you were in like a group home and different things of that nature, and that kind of gave me more clarity as to your struggle and your process to get where you are.
I always felt that nobody loved me. And I had a lot of, why did she leave me, meaning my mother.
Right.
And I'm 60 today, and this January was her birthday, January 31st.
Right.
And I called my other sister and I said, today's our mom's birthday. And this was the first year that I've acknowledged my mother's birthday, or my mother, actually, for real, from being her daughter and having a mother, even though she passed away. It wasn't her fault, but I've always, part of me, I just never voiced it. But I wanted to get back with April. I will do everything in my heart. I am so thankful that I feel like I'm her grandmom. She calls me Granny.
Right.
And that's the best feeling. She tells me she loves me. She just, I'm in her life, and I watch her, and I ask her before, because I talked to her on the phone a lot of times before I came. In the last couple of years, I've had the process, the beginning of forming a relationship to where this was perfect, and I think that she's good with me coming here. Everything just went in right where God meant for things to be. But I asked her, how do you feel about me? This was before I came. I asked her, I want to know if you're okay with me being your grandmother. She used to call me grandmother, and I called her granddaughter. Yeah, hi granddaughter, hi grandmother. Now that's my baby, my April, and she calls me Granny.
Right.
And we used to call my grandmother Granny. Nobody says that anymore, and I just love it. Mm-hmm. She talks to me. Right. We talk. We talked about boys, and just things that a grandmother and a granddaughter talk about.
So look, speaking of, you mentioned God in there.
Yes, God is.
How did
everything.
Faith or God help with the process of your growth and your change?
Actually, I got locked up for something that I didn't do, and
this another time?
This was
okay.
More than once, yeah.
Well, I'm a thugging out here. Go ahead.
Yes. Actually, I got locked up for interstate drug trafficking from another country, which I had no clue about it. And instead of me worried about how much trouble I'm in, my only thoughts were, Keenan and April, my kids are never going to forgive me. They're never going to believe that I had nothing to do with this. And I think I spoke to you, and you said to me, Mom, if you didn't do it, don't worry about it. And that was a start, because before you used to say, Scotty, your mom's on the phone. And your mother's on the phone. And you would say your favorite thing to me was, yeah, all right.
Right.
You would say that all the time. And
because the trust wasn't there. I didn't believe what you said, and
because it was the same over and over.
Right.
Over
it
again.
was a trauma. It was an adverse childhood experience. I deal with kids that do that have those type of things, and that repeat hurt creates a callus or a thick skin. So now I don't let you penetrate, that I can't be hurt.
And you kept your kids protected from.
And I kept my kids protected.
I know.
And that's my job. But also as far as your mother and that type of thing, because mom and father, like dad, are not good words for me at the time. They were like hurtful to hear those things.
I feel the same.
Yeah,
I do.
I know you do. I know you do. And that's why it was it was important for us to be able to have this conversation so that other people can grow from this too. But because when you grow up like that, I know a lot of foster kids, you know, and a lot of kids that grew up in those type of situations that were abusive, to where even if their parents were there and it just wasn't a good situation, they don't associate good and happy things with having a mom or a dad in that situation.
You called me mommy one day, and
Okay.
I don't know if I know I did cry after I hung up the phone, but even before I did. And Scott says, well, can I call my mom sometimes just to say hi? And you would call me to say hi. One of the best moments that I asked God to please let me do what's right and not ruin this. Nothing, no drug, no man. I put my focus on me, and I say coming home with my kids. I don't never consider Rhode Island as my home because there's nothing there for me. This is where I belong, here with my sons and my grandchildren, with my family. I have a sister who's there, but she has her own family, and I love her, but it's a difference. And I prayed about it. I asked God. There was no reason why I spent 6 months and 9 days of my life locked away for I didn't have any part in the situation, but everything's for a reason. And that gave me time. The word faith. That's where I learned to have faith. My brother told us yesterday, he told your daughter, Proverbs 5 and 6, trust in the Lord with all thy heart and lean not into my own understanding. I blocked out. I was angry with God because things were going good, and each time I got into something, no matter how much I built up, I went and got high. And that was my, what do you call it, mechanism?
You self-sabotaging.
I did.
Just like you said with the dude, oh, anytime I see it going good, I'm going to go and do this and I'm going to mess it up. So that's something that you was doing personally to yourself, you know?
I think that my kids are ready for a stepdad, but I want to get married.
Honestly, I tell people all the time, I don't need, a parent because I'm grown. I'm a parent myself. So
well, not in that perspective. I just think that it'll be good for me to be in
that
a
would be
relationship
good
with
for
someone.
you.
Yeah.
But like, hey, I'm cool. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well,
because
I can have a daughter as well.
Well, I mean, we're working on that. But so just my journey also, when it came to God, that's what really, because like I said, when my son being in the hospital, my daughter was 3-4 months early. So I had to really rely on God. And then when her mom moved out of state and different things of that nature, that hurt because I have abandonment issues and all that kind of stuff. So I had to go through therapy and all of that. But just really talking to different people about it, a lot of people gave me bad advice. Go follow them around and da-da-da-da-da. And, move to this place and that place. And I said, no, I want to have stability, because they kept moving around.
You've always said that.
And then, I think I was using my kids as a crutch to why I had to do good things and be successful.
But it worked.
No, it didn't work. No, because God removed my daughter from me. So it was just me, and she was 1,000 miles away, and I wouldn't see her for 8 months out of the year. So I had to rely more on God and build that relationship up so that no matter what happens, I would rely on my source of my power. Because what happens if April said, well, I ain't fooling with you no more, Dad. You suck and don't talk to me anymore. And not that would happen, but then I would still have to move forward and live. I would still have to be a child of God that I am and still do good things and put forth the effort to live the life that I'm supposed to live. I can't just stop because one thing is messed up and not do what my mission is. So that's kind of how I look at it at this point. I've been called to do something, so that's what I do. And so that's kind of where that growth and change. So before we end the segment, we have what's called roast or toast time. So roast or toast time is if you toast it, that means you put your glass up to it and you're like, yeah, I feel like this is something that needs to be more talked about in our culture. Okay. And you give some last thoughts about it. Roasted means we don't need to talk about it no more. It's over with. It's done. Okay? So for this situation, personally, I toast it because I think we need more real honest conversations, therapy. Mental health is very important, and dealing with your childhood trauma and healing your inner child is important to becoming a full person, so that you can give your kids and your spouse and your community the best version of yourself that you can. So
I toast that.
Okay, well, what are some last thoughts for the people?
One thing that I would like to say is counseling. To talk about, I refuse to go to counseling or share I wouldn't share what my thoughts with anyone. And I tell people, and I've been working on changing that, but I still use that. I survived 15 years by allowing I just developed I don't care. I wouldn't acknowledge none of my thoughts. I miss my kids. I'm hurting. This guy beat me, or I was abused. This man raped me. Whatever I went through, I don't care, because nobody else cared. It doesn't make a difference. And that only thing I did was, after whatever the situation was, I would go and get high over and over and over and over again. And then one day, God told me that everything that I do is only because He allows me. And I had to deal with that, because how can you allow me to go through so much? How can you allow me to do what I did to destroy my relationship with my kids? And I've learned through faith and just through the grace of God speaking to me and allowing me a better understanding that it's not destroyed. Things can change. You
Right.
can change, Kathy. If you want it, you spent 59 years of your life not going for it, not putting an effort to make changes.
Right.
They're not going to happen if nothing changes.
Right.
And I'm thankful that today I use the word change. I look in the mirror at myself. I was on probation, and my probation officer, Kyla, said to me one day, Kathy, until you look in the mirror and say, good morning, Kathy, you're never going to change it, because you're always looking in the mirror, thinking about the boyfriend, what he's going to think, or what this one is going to think. This one, even as far as you and my grandchildren and my other son, before I can worry about what you guys think, I would need to come and represent myself and think about myself. And then I wouldn't have a problem. I don't worry right now, today, about what you guys think of me, because it shows. And that was one of my biggest things. I have always, every prayer I think, I ask God, I just want to be, in the room with my 2 sons and my 2 grandchildren, the 5 of us, before I die. Because I felt like I was destroying myself, my life, and I thought I was going to die in Rhode Island without getting to come home and be with my family. This is such a blessing for me to be here.
Right.
And I see I never look at myself with the word change. Today I do. I noticed some changes in me. This was very important for me to, no matter what, be here for my granddaughter's 21st birthday. And I think that was this is one of the first things in my life that I really put an effort and showed and acted everything to want this. And in part of that, I had to make some changes.
All right, so there you have
You
it.
can do it.
Until next time, stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
And pray.
And pray. And stay tuned for another exciting episode of Roasting the World. Peace.
Peace.